right, so we're here for Illiana Reunion Night. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Brian Casaba, former driver for the Turbo Stock Division, number 71.
Tom Rose, car owner, number 00 for Hank Hugh and Mike White, 5-time champion, 97, 98, 99, 06 and 08.
My name is Bill Service. I'm the 5-time track champion at Illiana Motor Speedway. And back in the day, I was the man of this track on a quarter mile.
Glenn Cosiera, I was a tech official here for 15 years.
Jason Moorhead, I ran the Pure Stocks here for a few years and thought it'd be fun to do this.
All right.
I got a story for turn one here.
Let's talk about the track history real quick. Anybody know when it got started?
What was it, 1949 or 47?
47.
I think in 1947 is when the track actually was created and opened as a dirt half-mile motorcycle track. And then
Harry Molinar.
Yeah, by Harry Molinar. Molinar was huge into Harleys, and this was his land here. And he said, you know, and I'm going to build a track and run motorcycles out here.
They were more popular than there was no stock car yet at that point.
Yeah, it was all motorcycles and open wheel cars back then. Was the popular thing to race.
So what was the Saturday night like here?
Back in 47, that was before my time, so I don't know.
Well, more recently.
More recently,
5 divisions of cars.
we had five. I think at one time we were at 6 divisions, but it was mainly super late models. At one time we had limited late models. We had the Mid-Am Sportsman, Turbo Stock, which was street stock. We had the Pure Stocks, which is like a Hornet. And then we had Legends and Bandoleros.
Yep.
Primarily, that was the time while Bill and I we were racing out here. After Raceway Park closed, we had nowhere to go, and this is where we ended up going.
It was here at Grundy, you know what I mean? So a lot of us came here because this was on a Saturday, because Grundy was hard to make on a Friday, especially going down 80 with all the traffic. You know, and they built this quarter mile for all the people at Raceway Park, is what we were told. And now we found out they lied after all these years. So a lot of us did come from Raceway Park, and this was our quarter mile track here, actually, which I thought was really bigger than a quarter mile. We got great long straightaways, but boy, turn 1 and turn 2 were really sharp.
We followed the contours of Harry's quarter mile track.
Did you?
That was always here.
Okay.
That was like a horse track.
Mike McCooley built this.
On it.
Mike McCooley bought the place, and right after he bought the place, he figured out he had to have it repaved. And they had to have concrete walls put up because the insurance wouldn't let them run it the way it was anymore. So he put a lot of money into this place.
So
We built the quarter for no apparent reason, and then when some Grundy people came out here and saw it, they said, "Can we race on your quarter mile track?" I said, "Okay." They did. They liked it. So we basically copied the Grundy rules and put them on our website and started a division. Then the next year, Raceway closed and they had nowhere to race. So we doctored the rules up to make everybody run legally. And overnight we had double the cars.
This
40 of them sometimes.
This is turn
Yes.
1 going in here, and for all you people at South Bend, I took your flag guy out right up over here. Okay, so spun him around, I pulled off to the side and
Tell them thanks.
told him thank you and waited till him let him go by.
appreciate
You know, and we were in the back of the pack. I think we were running second and third at the time.
Yeah, and then
It
we
was
ended
something
up
like
in the back, and then
Yeah.
we thought Tommy was going to throw a caution, and he never did.
Never did. But this was a tight turn. Everybody comes down here, and we would all cram all of these cars right up over here. And if you could really get your car hooked right here, you'd almost take your left front wheel and take it off of the grass. All right, so you get a better bite coming off. Even though it's banked right there, it ain't much of a banking, but it was enough to get you coming off pretty good. So you get down the chute up over there. But then when you came in four was kind of had a little dip in it, so the 4 was a little bit different. But this is an awesome track.
What was it like having to run 2 different style tracks on the same night? Half mile and a quarter?
I mean,
It's seamless. You guys did it seamlessly.
Yeah, you just
It really
really
was.
only had to move the safety trucks. The safety
Yeah.
trucks would sit on the quarter mile when we raced the half,
half mile.
and then they'd put them on the turn 1 and
Yeah.
turn 4 when we'd run the quarter mile.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it really was pretty
was
seamless.
seamless.
And
Yeah.
Chris Goodacre always sat in the middle of the track with the checkered flag for photos.
The
Winner's circle sign.
Winner's
sign, and yeah, he would always be down there taking pictures.
I think what was the best is when the late models used to drop the green up over there, they'd come out of 4, and when you were up in the stands, you'd actually feel those stands
You can
rumble.
feel it rumble.
It was a great feeling. Those late model guys, man, you could just feel as they're coming down, and it was just as good, or not better than NASCAR.
Yep.
I'll tell you that in a heartbeat. It was really cool to watch those guys.
I remember I took a year off one time, and then I come back here to watch. When the cars came off turn 4, I'm like, that's what we do? I built a car that does that. It's so fast.
Yeah.
It's so exciting, you know. It's like, wow, yeah, we were doing something.
I was out here for a sprint car show one time, sitting in the stands.
my God.
And when those guys came off turn 4 to take the green, you could see the fence bouncing and just all the wind that those cars would push. It was really cool.
How fast do you think you guys were going there on the half?
Well, you averaged about 100 miles an hour, I think. So
I know
down
you guys
the,
are way
down
over
the back
100.
straightaway, I think you went about 124 because it's faster than the front
Right,
straightaway.
okay.
Back straightaway. I think somebody had a thing out here, and I mean, and then you got to encounter that flat corner.
actually came
Yeah.
by with
Yeah.
the radar
Yeah.
gun, and we radar
Yeah,
a couple.
1 point. And it's like, how are they gonna make that turn? First time you watch them do it, you think you're going, not going to. Well, some guys didn't make the turn either.
Yeah.
That's besides the
Now,
point.
was there more banking out of turn 2 or into turn 3 that made the backstretch faster?
This corner is a little bit D-shaped.
Yeah.
It's tight right to the
in the middle.
gap right there, and then
Yeah.
it spreads out and just smoothly comes out. So you're on the gas sooner, and you got a straighter shot.
Okay.
So then, I mean, it just seems quite a bit faster. I'm sure it's only 3
Yeah, it
miles
is,
an
it
hour
is.
or 4 or
A lot
something.
of drivers never figured that out. The two, both ends of the track were different.
Then you get to
The ones that did were the fast ones.
Yeah.
when you get to 3, you're hauling.
Yeah.
You better get that car down to the bottom because otherwise you're.
When we were out here with the street stocks in the last year, we get to do the half mile, and we were running 350 carburetor. Well, by the time you get into 2 and you get to 3, it was such a long straightaway. It felt like you could order a pizza and they could have it ready at the other
motor's
end.
all stretched out.
And back in the day, they timed us. We were doing about 95 miles an hour in the street stock.
Yeah.
But in the stands, we look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, we look so slow, but in the car you're flying,
I thought it was a good show.
Yes, it was.
I thought so. Yeah.
It doesn't matter how fast you're going, it's how close you're racing.
Well, that's why I thought that the quarter mile here was, even though a lot of times we were single file here a lot of times, and eventually the outside group did eventually fall into play here, but I thought it was some nice close action,
The half mile you get so stretched out.
Yes. Yep.
It's so hard to get everybody back there. You can have cautions like they do in NASCAR just to close up the field.
Yep.
But on the quarter mile, it's always going to be pretty close.
Yep.
Racing.
So where did your famous turner, Tom?
Well, this isn't about the track, but it's a story I have from my driver here. It was 1996, and we were neck and neck with 9-time champion Frank Galinsky in the point standings. It's the last feature of the year. When we come out here, all we got to do is finish next to each other. It's like a 2-point difference. And I believe we're like in 4th place. And Mike White driver decides to pass, maybe it would probably be like I think. And they end up getting right reared somehow. I'm not sure how it happened, but there was a light for the track here. Hit the catch fence and took out the light and knocked the post down in turn 1 in the stands. But nobody sat there. And just absolutely wiped the car out in this corner. I mean, there was no body pieces, there was no tires left, it was nothing. And that ruined our chance at that championship. But the next year, we managed to beat the late, great Frank Galinsky for our first championship and got stuck at 9.
So what's it like being back here?
It's absolutely
Tearful?
Yes, absolutely heartbreaking.
You spend most of your life trying to achieve something here and get accepted here, and you feel like you're part of a family, which the ties with other racers and everything is something more than people understand. It's like your alma mater. And then when your alma mater disappears and you don't have any place where you're recognized or feel like you belong, it's kind of a strange feeling.
Yeah, it is.
Brings me to tears, I know, last time I was here.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I've been back here in almost 4 years. And the last time I was here was to drop the final checkered flag in the final points event here. I haven't been back since until now. I refused to come for the auction, and I've seen all the pictures. I've seen the videos and stuff of the place, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And I mean, right now I'm in tears because I can't believe
They pulled it out from under the rug out.
seeing all these weeds here growing. You know, we should be leading up to Kids Night, which traditionally would be this next Saturday night. Was always Kids Night, and that was definitely it was such a big deal for all the drivers. It was definitely my favorite event of the whole season. Everything that goes on, Kids Night was the night that I always look forward to. I always look forward to going out on the quarter mile here, putting kids in my car, giving them a ride around the track, making candy bags throughout the week for the kids, and just seeing the smiles on their faces and being able to, you know, just have kids have a good time here on the track when, you know, they're too young to, you know, even get in a car or, you know, get in a go-kart or anything like that. Those were priceless times.
And this place was a Taj Mahal. It was a Taj Mahal. It was fresh paved, fresh walls, fresh bleachers, fresh stands, fresh food stands and everything. I mean,
Mike
lighting,
replaced-
brand new lighting. It was
Mike
everything.
replaced everything.
It was a show place like Irwindale, California, and got pulled out from under our feet somehow. But whatever, it was his track.
This is probably our version of NASCAR. Is the best way to put it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, we never made it to NASCAR. We weren't
This is
either.
our identity.
Right.
Our
Yeah, we.
NASCAR identity. People
Yeah, we didn't have the money or maybe the talent or whatever the case may be.
didn't
So
want to go travel our life, ruin our lives by traveling all over the country all the time.
and this is our life right
Piece
up
of it,
over
yep.
here. So hopefully it never gets forgotten in so many ways. You know what I mean? So
Or Harry Molinar either.
Yeah,
We had
Harry- yeah.
built it from an airstrip. Watch out,
what's
watch
up?
out.
Yeah.
Obstacles.
That wasn't there when they were racing.
Listen,
I hope not.
We would have come out with a shovel and picked that up.
Well, the good thing is that somebody's cutting the grass every now and then.
Yeah.
They just need to cut the grass in the track.
Well, the worst is how about if you sit there, you go to hit that grass, but the car just takes off.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Remember when they used to cut it like on Friday? So you come here Saturday night and
Oh, I
everybody's
know,
grill
and
got all
everything-
plugged up.
oh, yeah.
All the drivers are sniffling
Yep.
and their eyes are watering because they got allergies.
That or how many times? How many times have the crews lobbied during a caution to allow a crew member to come out and clean the grill because of all the grass
And
that?
maybe the windshield.
Yep.
The walls are actually in still pretty decent shape too, you know.
Oh, this could go
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Or paint.
A few weeks.
So what?
Like I was saying, on the old pavement, a lot of times it looked like this anyway before they paved in 2000. There was weeds on opening night anyway.
So what's it like having South Bend have the reunion night nowadays?
Absolutely wonderful. When Tony told me about that they were going to have a reunion night last year, it brought me to tears, and I'm like, are you sure? You know, are we really going to do this? Because the last thing I wanted to do was say, hey everybody, we're going to have a night, and then all of a sudden the schedule comes out and there's nothing. But it filled my heart with so much joy, not only to have the night be on the schedule, but to see the people that came out, that always came out here, whether it was fans, whether it was drivers or crew members or teams, whatever it was. The amount of people that we had last year was completely overwhelming for me. I know I talked to Kevin and Vern last year after the event, and they were just amazed at the amount of people that showed up. So hoping we have the same success with more people as we, this event gets, bigger and bigger, more word of mouth. I'd like to try and do more stuff in the future, to go with the Illiana Night to maybe a super late model show, for that night with a lot of the old Illiana guys. I know a lot of them have talked to me in the past about trying to hold an event for them. I'll continue working on that. But it definitely, for me, it means the world. I know for the rest of these guys, it means a lot for a track that's this far away from this facility to actually hold an event like this to honor the memory of the Speedway.
Actually, the closest track
Yeah, it's the closest track now.
is at Illiana.
Did you?
So what would it mean to have a Illiana super late model race or some kind of race like that? Think a lot of guys would come out of retirement or come back?
I think if we ran the old Illiana type rules, I think a lot of them would show up for an event like that. I really think that they would probably like the character of the racetrack, being that surface is so old. A lot of them might be like, holy crap, between the pavement and the transition between the pavement and the concrete, it's going to be a rough ride for them. But I think they would like the characteristic of that track.
I think the cars are too complicated for someone to come on a one-off show. I think you wouldn't see anybody come and show up. It's too much work. They'd have to come in and test.
Talking here, you're talking South Bend.
South Bend.
It's different.
Would you go to South Bend?
If I could talk
I
them
did.
into it, yes, I would.
You would have to go out and practice and set the car
Well,
up.
and I'm sure that
The rules allow.
they would set it up to give practice for everybody. I think that would that would be kind of neat. Not if you could do something like the Bentonhouse and end the season show.
Yeah,
You
it
know.
would have to be a big show. It couldn't just be a...
What's the difference between Illiana super lates and Sportsman at South Bend?
Motors are different. The chassis are a little bit different.
I imagine there's some
they're actually
suspension
pretty
shocks
close.
and things like
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of difference, but there are some differences. The Sportsman cars run on the D800s, even though the Grundy Super Lates run on those now. Your traditional Super Late models run on
35.
complete slick tire.
I don't think that surface at South Bend would be able to run a slick tire like that. Think you eat it up too much?
I don't think so.
No?
As old as that surface is, it's there.
Slicks would probably hold up better.
Yeah.
They might not last for 50 or 60 laps.
That's all. Yeah.
Well, that would be
Yeah.
a good show then. That'd
Yeah.
show who can drive it.
On the old pavement here, we used to bald them in a 30-lap feature.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bald your tires. We didn't even use them in the heat race. We'd use them in the trophy dash only in the feature. So if you ran the heat race, you might not finish the feature
was that
before they
rough?
paved it.
Wow.
Old stuff, that old aggregate.
Wow.
So when you get out of that race, you better have tires that can make it.
So what you guys do? Doing like a halfway then change your tires on a 100-lap race or what?
You just had to take it easy. Before this was paved, you had to.
But what do you do?
You'd run a second and a half off and
What
just
do you do in
cruise.
the Bentonville?
Take it easy most of the race.
Yeah.
On the old pavement, you'd take it easy 80 laps of it, or 85. Run at about 70% pace. Before then as the guys that ran hard in the start of the race start back up. That's how it was before they paved it. After they paved it, no holds barred. Everybody go Katie bar the door
Yeah.
all 100 laps, and nobody wore their tires out. Might run out of gas.
Yeah. Yeah. People done that. Yeah.
So did a lot of guys go to Grundy when this place closed?
Yeah. Pretty much. Most of us are.
Not a lot.
Yeah, right. Just a
Yeah.
few.
Well, a lot of retired.
Yeah.
A lot of cars are parked there.
Yeah.
They come out and we have every fall we go up to Rockford Motor Speedway for the Bahama brackets, and it's just like the one area which is the South Beach is all Illiana cars. I mean, they just come out of the garages and come up there and race, and we're up there. We practice Friday, practice Saturday, race our heat races on Saturday, and all the features are on Sunday, and it's like 3 days of racing. It's really a great job they're doing up there in Rockford, and hopefully Rockford stays around for a lot more years, but we don't know if that's going to be numbered down the road either. It's And back in the day, we'd go to Rockford. There's nothing around there. Now there's everything around there.
Yeah, now it's all commercialized.
It's all commercial. Yeah.
It's in the
There's no
middle of
exit. You
everything.
have to get off on State Street to get up over there. Now it's like, whoa, you get off at the 274 or whatever.
173.
Some of those numbers.
You're right there. That exit never existed. You had to go through the heart of Rockford to get to the track, and now you got easy
Cherville
access.
in '92 had 9,000 people. Now there's 31,000 people, I think, in Cherville. So they've all moved up around here to put the pressure on. Poor Mike with always time restrictions and everything.
11 o'clock we had to be done?
11 o'clock. Yep. And then we were getting fined.
It's crazy.
That was a
Flat fine or was
No,
it fine
it
for every
was-
hour?
I don't remember what it was. It wasn't a flat fine. I remember that.
You get the pretty good close around 10.
Yeah.
About 10, 15.
Well, that's because we cut out the trophy dash.
Yeah, those trophy
We cut out intermission.
Yeah, that was
We
fun.
cut,
Just to
we
make
id
it
out a
look
lot of that
Yeah,
stuff.
wasn't it? Like,
Made
made
the
a trophy
trophy
dash. Yes. Yep.
So let's talk about that last night you guys are here for the last points night. What was that like?
Well, that was only the second time I'd ever been in the flag stand for races, and that was the second time that year, actually.
We didn't know it was going to be last night.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody
Yeah.
knew.
Nobody knew. You know,
Oh, so you guys kind of just got really pulled out for anything.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
We found out in March of 2016 that we were done, and it wasn't but a couple weeks later when I was contacted by Tony about a position out there, and I was completely shocked that I was even thought of.
About 8 weeks before the season started is when we found out there wasn't going to be a season.
Yeah.
You know, so you figure everybody's at home working on their cars, planning
Holy
a season,
cow.
and then all of a sudden you find out there's no season.
After being told the year before that he was going to keep it open forever. But
So
forever is...
You guys didn't even get a going away party or nothing.
No. But Raceway did the same thing. We had the last Enduro, Raceway Park, and they came out and had a driver's meeting in turn 1 and 2 and said, all right, the rumors that you heard are true, but the track is not going anywhere. We will race next year, so get your cars ready. And also March came around and we had no Raceway Park. So,
Well, that's because the track owners tried.
Yeah.
They tried to the last minute to try and pull it out. All right, it's not like they were snickering by.
Yeah,
and,
no.
oh yeah,
Well, that wasn't
we
meant to
got
be a
these
dig on the
suckers.
owners.
yeah, it wasn't meant to be a dig on the owners.
Merely explaining the surprise to the car
cars,
owners
Yeah, I
and
know,
builders.
but you know,
Yeah.
I know,
I'm
you know
always
both sides. Yeah.
I'm always protective of Mike because
Yes,
Yeah, I
you
know.
should be.
he
yeah.
bought this place and he gave us
Gave us a
15
Taj Mahal
years.
for-
Yep.
15 years of racing that we wouldn't
Yes,
have had.
I agree.
Right here.
Because-
Yep.
Handy.
Before Harry Molinar was even married, his relatives were selling his cycle shop.
Yep.
And this place would have been next on the block.
Yeah, it would have been.
Harry picked Mike McCooley to take over
It
this
couldn't
place.
stay a speedway
And he
if somebody
said-
else just bought it.
He said, I will keep this as a racetrack as long as I can, and Harry agreed.
Yep.
That don't put any more money into this place than you have to, because sooner or later the town is going to shut it down. But Mike went ahead, paved it, put guardrails up, fence,
Taj Mahal.
best of everything,
Yes, sir. And it was.
and he said, well,
Premier. Blue school
I'll be
lighting.
able to sell this and make my money back. But then the town pulled the rug out from under him, and he lost millions of dollars.
So what warning would you give to fans and racers about other local home tracks in the area?
Warning is
You better
just,
support them. Better go there.
you got to go there every week.
Can't just say I'm not going and it'll be fine because there's not enough people.
The
in the
racetrack needs support every week.
butts in the seats.
Everybody's got to show up. Everybody's got to buy a hot dog and a pop, and you know, you guys
Quit complaining on
complaining
social
about the
media.
price of the food and you know all this. It's the racetrack's income. If the track was making money and they could give stuff away, they would. If they could raise the purse, they would. They're barely squeaking by on what they're doing. They lose 1 or 2 nights to a rain out. They can't make it up because you can't race in October and November. Nobody shows up.
Because of football?
Well, yeah, South Bend is
And weather.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys got
with Grundy.
you guys got the Bears out here and Northwestern and
No, high school.
high school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's big out by Grundy.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
where you
as
guys
soon
used to
as-
race on Friday nights.
Well, I'm just saying Grundy and Motor Tracks Friday, but
Was a long
it's
straight
not
away
in the
here.
season.
You know, I was walking down and I never realized how narrow this back straightaway is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
plenty of room.
well, yeah,
But
but
there's a wreck, there's not.
I've seen some horrid things go on back here for the wide straightaway.
How about
My own
the
cars.
Mike Martin wreck out here when he hit the pole?
Yeah, yeah.
He started sliding right about here.
Yeah.
Right, and the
all the
grass was
way.
wet,
Yep.
and he picked up
Car
speed.
accelerated, yes.
And,
sideways.
and he was that was the mid-am car, so it was like, you know, it was like our street stocks, you know, just with fiberglass body on it, and he was heading for that pole, and I'm like, is he gonna hit that pole? And I'll never forget the sound. It was a low pitched thud, and it was absolutely eerie.
Oh my God.
Right, right,
all I said.
and
One of the lights fell off.
right, one of the lights fell off, and the car was wrapped around the pole. They were afraid to pull that car because they didn't know if the rest of the lights were going to fall. And I remember during the red flag of trying to get him out. They were talking to the drivers at that time whether or not to continue the race, and I think the vote was to continue the race, but to get a bunch of tarps and whatever to cover the car. And then eventually some people said, no, we can't do
Once they saw
that.
the tarp on the car, they said that looks bad.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it.
So then that got canceled
Even though
until
the guy
next
came out,
Saturday.
he ended up okay.
Yeah, that was one of the worst wrecks I'd ever seen in my life.
And it wasn't the first season here either.
Right.
You know, everybody said, "Oh, nobody will hit a pole way over there. We're not gonna.
Right.
We're gonna put tires around it."
of course no one's going to hit that way over there.
Yep. Until they do.
Till they do, exactly. Yeah, see, I was never fortunate enough to race on the half mile, so, you know, I was only on my cool down lap coming off the.
Oh, you never did a
yeah.
double O race?
No, I never did the double O. They stopped doing them before I did it because of Tom Taylor's big. Or was it Tom Taylor? No. Who had the big crash in the double O that they stopped doing it because of?
It used to be the new. Am I right? The new? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it used to be the new Illiana Motor Speedway. I don't remember who that was. That wasn't Helen.
No, it was he's friends with Bob Roweeder, and he runs a Neon, and I can't think of his name right now. But he did the double O. He came out and he was, I don't know if he was on the big and hit the wall head on in turn 4. And after that was the last double O, and that was, I never got to run one because of that.
Double O's only on
Crash Fest.
Crash
Yeah.
Fest.
I didn't come to.
I never came to a Crash Fest.
That's what we always call it. Circus night. We're off.
Yeah, we were off too. They didn't call us either.
We spend thousands and thousands of dollars on race cars and get it prepped every week, and then they fill the place when they have the
Right. When they have the bus
circus in
race.
town.
Yeah.
All my
Nobody
years of
comes to
racing,
see our
I've
cars.
never come to a Crash Fest, whether it was here or South Bend. I've just never been.
Pack them in though.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime I ever told anybody who run at Illiana, they'd say, I go out there for the crash
Crash
fest.
fest,
It's like,
yeah.
why don't you come out here for a race? We're actually racing.
So let's talk about this Saturday. What we got planned going on?
So we're going to be honoring 5 more individuals. So last year we honored Bill, we honored Glenn, 2 of the 5. That's why I had asked them, and we're honoring Tom. I invited a couple other people that could not make it that we are honoring. So along with Tom Rose,
And 2 that passed
Yeah.
away.
yeah, along with Tom Rose, we are honoring Harry Molinar.
Frank Galinsky, the
Frank Galinsky, the king of Illiana Motor Speedway.
9 times.
Nobody has won more championships than Frank here, or Bettenhausen wins. He had 9 of each.
Jeez.
Tony Baranek is being honored. He's a sports reporter and would always have a racing column for Friday night and Saturday night's events in the newspaper in the Chicagoland area. So that was huge for a lot of us drivers because that got our name out there. Dean Patterson is also being honored. Dean did a lot as far as advertising goes. He printed a lot of the T-shirts that were made. he also provided the point sheets at no cost for the fans and for the drivers to have every Saturday night.
Yes.
I'm hoping it's going to be a good night, a good turnout. I know we're a week away, but the weather looks like it's going to be good.
Yay. There's a lot of
There's a lot of sunshine in this week's forecast, so that's one good positive.
So, Bill, you've won 5 track championships here. What is your favorite memory of racing here at Illiana?
Well, I basically have a couple of them. One of my favorite ones was on opening day here that I just did enduros at Raceway Park, and never ran a feature, never ran a heat race or anything else. I made the trophy dash, and I finished third in the trophy dash and finished third in the heat race, and on the feature I'm on the outside going, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out or not, and I ended up putting the feature. And I had Bobby Wall and Mike Sterkwitz on my pit crew back in the day, and they go, oh God, we created a monster. We're never going to hear the end of this. All right, there's people that run for years that never won a feature, and I go out on my first time. Some other ones I had, me and Tony Meyer are out here one time for 5 laps side by side. I'm on the outside, he's on the inside, and we're battling it out, and there's rubbing and racing and everything else, and rubbing's fine, I have no problem with it, and we come to checkered flag, and I beat him by about a foot from the outside, and nobody ever used to win on the outside on the quarter mile. You always had to pretty much win on the inside, but it took me a lot of years to do some different things and set up and everything else, and to get the car to where, I mean, you can build 10 cars, and out of 10 of them, 2 of them are going to be really great, and out of those 2 that's great, you still got to have the best setup in the world. You got to have the driver to fit the setup. You know, you can have the best guy in the world to come and set your car up, but if it doesn't meet your driving style, it ain't going to be any good. And that's probably the best way to put it. Tom would know more about that than I
I'd say
would.
the exact same thing there.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
As a car owner, what's your favorite memory here?
Well, first of all, as a fan, one of my greatest memories, I came here in like 1973 and they were running the USAC sprint cars here. I don't know, they had like Jim Hurtubise and everything. And I was sitting there, and one of them went over the back straightaway wall down into the ravine, and it was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Because they were flying here. But then as a car owner, I already mentioned earlier about 1996, we lost the championship on the last night when we were neck and neck. Well, the following year, 97, the late, great Frank Galinsky and us are 1 point apart again going into the feature race. And we get about 3 laps into the feature race, and my car, the Mike White that drove my car, just comes down pit road, the car's off. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing down here? And he's like, the car quit. He said, but I was flickering some wires here, and some lights flickered while I was pushing on these wires. I look, all the wires fell out of the ignition switch. The little screw was gone, and there was 3 wires there all just laying there. So I'm like, well, I'll never find the screw in the car, and the feature's going. And I just grabbed a tie strap and stuck it right through the hole in that terminal, tied them all together. I said, put your gloves on, just go out there. Anything can happen. He goes back out on the track. We probably lost 3 or 4 laps. 5 laps later, Galinsky's panhard bar, he starts sparking, and then his panhard bar comes off. And he pulls off the track. We end up like 12th, he ends up like 15th. We beat him by 1 point for our first championship and kept him from his 10th championship. I mean, I feel bad for that now, but at the time, it was wonderful, especially after losing it the way we did the year before. And the speed of this track is what always got me. Even no matter how many times you bring your car here, no matter how many times we're here, they really cook down this back straightaway and enter this corner. It's like, how are you going to turn? They do. Look at how big it is.
Yeah, it is. But in the car, it doesn't feel that big sometimes. You know, sometimes it feels kind of small. You know, we went from the quarter to the half on the last year, and I mean, it was you had to change your driving style.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And things were a little bit different. And gear, and we didn't have a big gear selection like a 4.9-inch. We're still on an old 10-bolt back in the day, you know. But I want to say another memory I had when I won my 4th championship. My mother was here for every championship I ever won. Sorry. And my last championship, my mother passed away. And right then and I knew I was done. Racing full time at least. You know what I mean? It's when your parents are at the track, it means everything to any driver. So it's a great deal that I was able to do it for my mother. So sorry.
Good job.
Glenn? How about you as a tech inspector?
You gotta have some.
You've
great
got to have a
stories.
great.
in that
you just
garage.
shake your head and go, really? You thought you'd get away with that?
With a 500 carburetor?
He could tell these stories, but he'd have to kill us.
We got one today.
I
Oh,
think
we got one today.
I think the what is it? The time has passed. I think you can tell him now. It's okay.
Actually, no.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah, thank you. That was what I
I
was
did
looking
things. I made arrangements with people, and we worked it out. And there's no need for that. But there's like multiple kind of cheaters. There's ones that do it because they think they have to, and then and you can catch them because they won't look you straight in the eye. And then there's the guys that are professional cheaters, and they can tell any story they want, and you can believe it. But it's just, I won't tell you a cheater story, but I'll tell you that some of the biggest names you can think of in the sport, they all want an edge. They won't even show up at the racetrack if they don't have an edge. They can have all these feature wins and titles, but how can we cheat this up? And, how can we get around this rule? It amazes me,
Yeah.
I mean, there's always,
Reading
there's
between
like
lines.
100 little stories, but they all kind of run together. I don't want to get the wrong one.
Brown guy, other than flagging the very last points paying race here, how about you? What,
Oh, I got a couple good ones. So the first year I raced out here, my goal was to win Rookie of the Year. We didn't accomplish that. But another goal I set out was to win a race. And I don't remember what night of racing it was. I missed the first 2 nights. I want to say it had to have been maybe the 5th or 6th night that I was out here racing. Last lap duel, coming off of turn 4, heading for the stripe. I was in the middle of a 3-wide sandwich with Brian Tomaszewski and Pete Camp, and I was in the middle. I looked to the outside and I saw I was ahead. I looked to the inside and saw I was ahead. And when I seen that checkered flag drop, I had my hand out the window, and I couldn't believe that I was actually a winner that soon already. And to have it be that dramatic. A lot of people they have somewhat of an easy win. Nobody will be around them, but to cross the line in the middle of a 3-wide sandwich to win was pretty spectacular for my first win.
That's cool.
Another memory I have was this one I'll never forget is in 2011. I ran a partial schedule, came out for the Bettenhausen, and won the Bettenhausen, led flag to flag. In my wildest dreams, I never thought I would have ever won that race, especially that year, not running every night. Started outside pole, and like Bill said earlier, you don't ever win from the outside. And with a lot of Bill's help that year and the previous year with car setup, and we actually practiced during practice how to run the outside just by each other. He would run the outside of me, and then we would flip-flop, and I would run the outside of him, and that's how we got to figuring out how to run the outside. So I started outside, and I stayed outside for about the first 3 or 4 laps before I saw I was clear, and that's when I took off. When I got clear, I kept going. I took the white flag. I saw Eddie Wolf on the backstretch, slow as can be, up against the wall, trying to throw a yellow. The yellow never came out, and it was the one and only time in my racing career that I ever did donuts either. And because I knew that was probably going to be the last time that I ever raced a car out here. And I said, screw it, I don't care if this motor blows, I don't care if the rear end goes, I'm melting this thing down right here. And I remember Chris being out on the front stretch, and I was sitting there, and I went like this, and I waved him away, and he didn't know what I was doing, and I just started roasting them tires, doing donuts, and I didn't care, because I won the biggest race of the season. And back then, we were sponsored by North Grand Auto Parts, and it was the Street Stock Challenge where it was Illiana cars versus
that's
Grundy
right.
cars.
I remember that.
So I beat the best of the best that ran on the quarter mile at Illiana, and I beat the best from Grundy that night. I think the only other thing that I know I'll never forget is being in the flag stand for the Hoss Outlaws for their practice session. So their flagman went up there, and I said, I'll get down. He said, oh, no, you can stay up here. I said, all right, cool. When them cars let loose in practice, I could not believe the speed. And I remember holding my phone, and I was recording it. And when that first car whipped by, I about dropped my phone, and I had to really grip my phone. A body skirt or something, a belly pan, I think it was, came off of one of the cars, and it was sitting about 50 feet in front of the start-finish line, and their flagman didn't see it, and I tapped him and I said, hey, there's something on the track, and he threw a yellow right away, and the speeds that those cars were running around here, easily that thing would have cut our heads off. And that's something I definitely won't ever forget either out of this place. I have so many great memories here. Glenn giving me an opportunity to work here, being part of the tech team. After I stopped driving, I asked him, I said, hey, I'd like to work with you guys. And we talked about it, and Glenn allowed it. And that right there was kind of the stepping stone for where I'm at today, realistically. And Glenn, I thank you very much for the couple of years that you allowed me to do what I did out here.
You're a great guy, and you know what it was all about. I mean, a lot of guys, they come in, they want to be a tech official, and they want to throw everybody out, and they think they're going to fix everything. It don't work that way.
Yeah, I was kind of in that boat too. I'm like, I had goals. There were things that were broke that I wanted to fix, and some things, I wanted the drivers to respect that I was there for a reason, and not that I was just friends with them still. And I always felt that as soon as I walked through the gate, I was an employee. I had a job to do. I would talk to drivers like I normally would talk to them, but if I had to check their cars out, that's what I'm doing. And if I got to DQ you, that's what I'm doing too. No ifs, ands, or buts. No, fix it for next week. I was dead set on your car was either legal or it wasn't.
What about you?
Well, I don't know what it's a favorite memory, but one of the memories I have that I look back and smile. I only won a couple heat races here. I never had a lot of success here, but the pure stocks were always the last race of the night. And I remember a rainstorm had rolled in just as our feature had started. And I think I was one of the only cars that still had windshield wipers on my car. And they decided they were going to run our feature in the rain. And I remember running the 12 laps or 10 laps, whatever it was our feature was, with the wipers going, and we were turn one, and we're sliding through the corners, and it was a lot of, I think probably ended up third that night. I dated that back to my old Zamboni days of driving the Zamboni. I learned how to slide things. So that was probably one of my fondest memories of here. And then to go back to Bill's first win and Brian's first win, and Brian's involved in this memory, so I'm going to use it as a tie-in. But my first feature win at South Bend, my coolest memory was pulling up along the wall, doing the burnout and climbing the fence and giving Brown Guy a high five, because I kept warning him that when I did it, that was exactly what I was going to do. And then I did, and that's still one of my favorite pictures. I have that picture that Goodacre took hanging on my office of me on the fence with my helmet on, giving Brown Guy a high five. And so that's kind of a tie-in from Illiana days to South Bend days, and so that's my fondest memory with Brown Guy, and it's kind of cool. And we've got the sprinkle thing going now, and
I have sprinkles.
He has
in
sprinkles.
The cooler, so we're locked and loaded for Saturday night.
Well, and I'm going to be working on my car this week, and hopefully I'll be ready to gather some sprinkles from you. So that's my fondest memory.
No donuts.
No donuts, always sprinkles.
Sorry, there was a lot of traffic on 80. I couldn't stop and get donuts. I had to get here.
All right, well, I appreciate you guys showing me around, and thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Ricky.
Just imagine you're going about 125 and you gotta
Made that turn.
drop to the bottom and get around that corner.
And the grass really was right there on the edge. There was no apron beyond that grass.
That hit the point there in the late model.
I don't know, Starkowitz climbed up over here one time.